Call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for divanarchy, and interface with a couch in space. It's Space Couch time! Back, large, and in charge. I mean, we're always large because we have the infinite void with which to contend. But we are especially in charge today because I am so excited about today's guest. It's going to be really awesome. Taking off next Sunday, that's Mother's Day, so call your mom if you want or whatever, but there will be no Space Couch. But what there will be right now is advertising. Liger Hawk Records is the hottest new game in town, featuring today the new album from James Netherwald. It's called The New Album. You're like, Brian, what's the name of that new James Netherwald? It's called The New Album. You cannot go wrong. So just go to ligerhawkrecords.bandcamp.com and check out the new album from James Netherwald, among several other releases. Without further ado, a guy I've sort of known, but not like really known for like a long time. So it is with my great pleasure to bring you Reagan of Iris. What's going on, man?
Ryan, good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Oh, wow.
Good to see you. It's been as they say, a minute, or a light minute from like out here in space. So whatever that is. It's time space becomes the same thing when you're this far out.
It's just like when you get older, I think like, you know, the memories of like the years are just sort of compressed, and it confuses me really when I think like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, seems like 5 to me.
It's like a hard knee lead vocal compression on that time. It just when I was a youth, like I remember being like thinking like I'm gonna be old because I'm 10, and now I have to work really hard to be like, was that 20 or 30 years ago? Like it's just all the same instance. Although I will knock us back to actually we'll go to 2019 in a second, but I just sort of want to sort of do a substrata of vocal quality, because I mean, Iris to me has always been one of the great vocal offerings into our weird electronic world. Due obviously to our guests here today, do you have classical vocal training, or is it all sort of self-taught?
I mean, you know, no, I didn't actually. I just, truth be told, I was in college. I heard the guy playing New Order downstairs.
Okay. Was that what it did?
Yeah, I just ran down there and he opened the door. I said, "Who are you? What are you doing?" I just kind of barged in.
Yeah.
I said, "Show me what you had." So he had all these keyboards, and I ran and got a mic. And I before that, I had never really thought about being in a band.
That's how it happened?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Really, really strange, you know. I think I was just really dying for some opportunity, some window to kind of break out of my misery at that time in my life. And I was already such a fan of music, and it just just clicked. You know, I thought, wow, this guy's from Houston. That's where all those great clubs played this kind of music I love. And he already knows like bands I love. He's playing New Order. So yeah, it just sort of came together. So to your question, I mean, no, I was insane to think I could sing at all.
Wow.
I didn't stop to ask myself, can I sing? Because like, it's almost like this passion sort of drove me forward without ever asking questions like, can I do it? I just didn't even ask. I thought, I'll figure it out. And I got vocal training one time by somebody at that college. Never did it again because I could tell she was, you know, she has more knowledge than me, but she was trying to sort of shoehorn me into like what she sees as technically right. And I've never been about technical proficiency. I'm always
Mm-hmm.
about the emotive quality. So just, over time, I mean, I was talking to a guy today about this. He's just started singing. And I'm like, everyone's got a cool voice. Like, everyone's got like a fingerprint. Their voice is unique. All you have to do is get the muscles to start being disciplined and acting right. And
Everyone's
you
got a cool voice. Oh, I love
yeah,
that. I was
yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
I was going to ask you just because I just sort of howl. Do you have? But if I actually wanted to try to hold a note, do you have any quick wisdom you could impart?
Sing in the car, sing in the shower, sing karaoke in
Love
your
it.
studio. I mean, for a long time, I would come home and I would play karaoke of like bands I loved that,
Right.
no one's looking.
Right.
I would, I could imitate pretty well too. So
Okay. Well, if I
that's,
subtitled episodes, which I don't, this one would be "Sing in the Shower," at least for
yeah, I
now.
mean, practice makes it happen. I mean, to what degree you can be smooth or to what, like I don't have a good head voice. I always wish I had a head
Mm.
voice that could, like peak out of the low melody into the high part because a lot of music I love, the singer can do that. And I never have been able to do it really. I did it with like Annie Would Lie to You kind of for a
Hmm.
minute, and like, unknown, but it was very hard to do. It always
Okay.
scared me to get on stage. Like, oh my, pull this off.
Well, speaking of music, let's we will use the advantage of our space time continuum and warp back to 2019 for Iris's last release, Six. Let's do this will be cut six. Let's just play a clip of what to me was the standout track. This is Pure White Snow.
So hard to know, say why so. I search so low to pure white snow.
Again. So that was Pure White Snow off of Six. I'm curious what the process on this release like, or where your sort of head was at in it.
Honestly, I don't think our heads were in it that much.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think we probably should have hung it up maybe an album
You
earlier.
think so?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't getting any better, and I'm like
Really?
highly competitive with myself. Like
Uh huh.
I always have a bar that I can't reach. That's always been the way it is. Like I'm striving for something I can't get to, and so, but I usually get pretty close or close enough to where I'm like, okay, it's compelling enough that people will kind of resonate with it, or someone
Hmm.
might. Towards the beginning of like the talk about do we want to do another record, I'd still written because I always write. I just had to
Hmm.
create. I don't have a wife, I don't have children, so creation is like my thing. So I have to be doing that. So I
Right.
have some songs, but I don't think either of us was really raring to get back into the studio mode together, and we kind of forced the issue with Six. I mean, I'm proud of some of the work on that. I
I
really
think it's
am,
a
but
great album. This is
thank you. Yeah. It also gave us a chance to go back and tour one last time in Germany. And I think, after like 20 years or whatever, I started to get my act together on stage where I wasn't wearing like the headphone cans, and I was starting to like get it. Like, okay, I get how to relax now and sort of like have a show and entertain, because I was always like petrified. I hated live shows.
really.
Yeah, I love traveling. I loved walking around the cobblestones of Germany, but I hated the show. That's why I love being the opener, because we could do like 30 minutes and be done and then hang out. So
Wow. Well,
I love it, the opening spot.
I that's surprising to hear. So I was gonna ask what's next at the end, but I'll smash cut here. Does that mean you're done? You think?
It did, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 'cause, Andrew and I had a pretty acrimonious divorce.
Right.
It was pretty public, and at least as far as in our little scene. And so certainly I wasn't, I had no ambitions of like us working together again. And
Hmm.
I just didn't really, again, I wasn't getting any better. There were newer bands coming out. They were doing really fresh stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm never going to keep up with that because I write very conventional kind of songs.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if I write about conventional topics, but I love conventional formulas and songs. And
That's
I
what
thought, man,
works, man.
Yeah, it works when you do it the right way. And I'm just obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with trying to make it right. But some bands were coming out, I thought, wow, I don't know. It's like they're fresher, they got a better look. They're like
Hmm.
cooler, so I'm like, I wasn't
Ah.
becoming a better writer. I thought, so fast forward to now. This might surprise some people to hear this because I was kind of keeping it under wraps, but I did start working on music again. I've got like 15 new songs, and we're in production right now. I won't say with who.
Space Couch exclusive! We got some new Iris in the clip.
We'll be back.
Oh,
It'll be a different name though. It'll be a different name.
Okay, different name.
Yeah, different name. But
oh wow. Okay, so I'm just gonna live in that moment for one more. And okay, cool. Different name, new music from our guest today. Keep your ear to the digital ground for that. I want to live in Ira's world for at least another minute, like because you've really hit some highs with it. I mean, I won't totally relive that DVD you did where you told the story of when Annie was big and Annie Would I Lie to You and playing with Gothic Treff into just a stadium full of people, but.
Well, wasn't that big, but it was big to us at the
I mean,
time.
I saw the DVD, man. You can't
Yeah.
lie with that crowd shot. But Imposter had since hit #1 in like Poland or something like that, right?
It was Appetite that did that.
Appetite did that. I screwed it up.
Yeah.
Um,
In Warsaw, in the Warsaw
in
market.
Warza, and so you're doing like mall signings and stuff. Like that's pretty.
Kinda, yeah. Because like a lot of the things that have happened to us, like when we were first asked to come to New York because Annie Wadalati was playing in this club up there.
Yeah,
We were totally shocked. I mean, we were ambitious. We wanted to do something,
because that's like
but just sort of yanked us out of our college town and like come to Manhattan. And the same thing happened with Appetite. Like it was just sort of like I remember texting Andrew or something, and I said, "Hey, we're climbing the actual chart,
that's
not like."
amazing.
And it was with all the whatever the biggest artists were at the time. And I watched it like over, I guess, the course of like 6 or 7 days, and it finally hit #1.
Yeah, like it, and this is not wave or the doc like some like the fringe thing. This is like the thing.
This is a real deal.
You
Yeah,
hit
and
#1.
we weren't signed to a label, really like a large label, so we had no one to like back us up with posters or marketing. We were kind of this unknown band that I'm sure people in Poland like.
Wow.
So when we went over there, it just sort of synced up time wise. They took us to like this thing called like a Media Mart, which is like a Best Buy, and it was very much like a huge table with like huge posters and big markers and all these people, and it's like, okay, that's what that feels like. Now I know what that. I never needed that. I never craved fame or whatever. Like that, any art I do, it's never my goal. I just thought, that's interesting. Now I know what it's like to be in that. They didn't know our history. They didn't know. They just knew that song.
Just these two guys were like, oh, it's amazing. Thank you for that. I screwed up the song title, but that is pretty wild to just be like, dude, we're #1 in Warsaw. Like,
it's totally wild. I think like I feel like in some ways we haven't ever like reached the potential that we might have had. And to know that we pulled that off was sort of a validation, like, okay, like craft of the songwriting, the production, everything is like, it's there. We just haven't had the right breaks or the right, guidance, but at least for that moment, it proved that we could do it, so.
Very cool. I'm gonna do a bit of a jump, and we can spend as much or little time as this on you want, but I know you to be a man of faith, and I'm curious as to where that intersects with your music, or if you feel a need to sort of package that in a different way for certain audiences or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's kind of a lot to unpack there.
Okay.
So, yes, I am. I'm sensitive to the fact that people don't want to be preached to.
Right.
And my ambitions are always like, if I had to like zero in on one thing, it's like, I don't want people to be lonely. Like if someone's sad or lonely, I want them to feel like it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so my faith inevitably gets wrapped in the lyrics, you know, but
Sure.
I try to make it as covert as I can so as not to irritate somebody, but to
Uh-huh.
maybe plant a seed of hope or optimism just enough to where it's like a little piece of the recipe, but it's not like
Right.
overt. That can really like come across wrong.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm definitely not evangelizing, but you know, I would if someone asked for
Right.
sure.
Right.
But as far as the music, I think honestly, I probably wrote a little too like about my own private shit. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think if I'd written more like digestible club songs, you know, like we probably would have done better. But I
Mm.
wrote for like I think I did okay with lyrics, but it was just very private and like so we ended up being a band I think that works better for like individuals than we do for like a club, you know.
Fascinating. That's very astute. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's always been my experience with your music is this like almost a narrative, and it's not like you're pretending to be a vampire or some World War II story that you never lived. It's like, oh, this dude's
Yeah.
talking about something as I'm driving away from my girlfriend's house sad or something like that. Like it really cut to the core, and it works on an individual and not a club level. But that's
I think that's why, you know, a band like Depeche Mode, for example, was so successful. I mean,
mm-hmm,
obviously the songwriting and the production was next level, but the songs were like both. They were both like
mm-hmm.
the individual by yourself,
Fascinating.
and also great in the club for like a you know music for the masses, right? So I mean,
Mm.
I don't think we had that. We were kind of like just very much an individual's music, you know, which amassed a decent fan base, and you know, people have been just very gracious with us, and you know,
Mm.
and how they've responded to our music. But I think like I now I'm if I when I write, I try to like go the I try to a little more like friend broke up with me and that,
Mm.
you know, like just sort of like more easily digestible material, not to
Interesting.
try to manipulate outcomes, but just to like, hey, I've kind of been as deep as I could be because that was just what I was doing,
Right.
not trying to do it. Just,
Well, it's an evolution, right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Fascinating. I'm losing you a little bit. No,
yeah, I
you're
see
coming
that.
back.
I see that.
It's all right. Well, see, we are. I don't know why I decided to do my show from space, and it costs zillions of dollars to beam it all up here. So we will run into some feed issues every now and then. Um, oh, hey, cool, getting a tour.
I was seeing if it was my computer, and
Uh,
but I don't show any issues on my
no,
end.
your end is looking much better now. So whatever you
Cool.
did, we sold it. Um, Speaking of going into Panic Rev, I know you also to be a fan of the motorsports and biking, and I don't have a lot of knowledge in that area, so my questions be really top level. Like, what does sort of something like a hobby like that teach you? Like, does it like do you learn of does it do you learn about reaction time or to respect rules of the road? Like, what's a takeaway of wheel to
Uh,
sports?
well, you know, it certainly taught me a respect for gravity,
Ha!
and you know, because it did finally catch up to me. In fact, the time we were over there in Media Mart having our little moment, I had a broken leg, you know,
Right.
so I kind of put a stop to all that. I mean, you know, it's I I think I just like I need to chase something. You know,
Okay.
I need to compete, but I'm not really a team sports guy.
Right.
I loved like boxing. I boxed when I was a little bitty
No,
kid.
no kidding.
Um, I loved motocross just because it's freeing and you can
Mm-hmm.
you know it's exhilarating. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I'd been in California, I probably would have wanted to be a surfer.
Okay.
Um, so I think music is just sort of the same thing, like art of any kind. It's just this pursuit of trying to be the best you can be at something
Oh
without
wow.
like
Okay.
prying eyes of like teammates who depend on you because like I guess I was sort of an outcast, you know, as a young kid I felt very much like an outcast, and I had to learn to survive on my own, you know. So I didn't, you know, I wasn't like a dick, and I wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
super shy. I don't know, I just wasn't cool. I've never been
Mm.
cool.
Yeah, no,
I
I
just
feel you there, man.
never been cool. Don't really, you know what that even is, except to be genuine and authentic. That's the only kind of cool I know, which is the one I prefer in people. So I guess, you know, motocross, just like music or, you know, screenplays, which I'm trying to do now. I mean, it's just all like, it keeps me, my focus attentive to achieving some goal to be better
That's
than I
what
was.
an amazing answer. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is the affordance of electronic music is just this like sort of uh, on a team, but within yourself. Like because I'm programming this out or doing the songwriting, individually. Um,
Well, I mean, I think in my case, I was very lucky to work with Andrew Sega because like Andrew was sort of younger and he didn't come from like my heroes in music are not his,
mm-hmm.
not kinda, but you know he was in the Underworld and Apex
Sure.
Twin, so I think he just thought, okay, this guy's doing the synth pop thing. I can probably come in there and fuck it up, you know. So, but so he never, you know, I mean, we butted heads about direction sometimes, but ultimately, like he wanted me to be the songwriter that have all that space, and I wanted him to have all his space to do
It's awesome.
production. So even though it was a team, very much a team and a great team, um, we each were like out of each other's way, you know,
Right.
and all were siloed and you know out of sight from one another. We were rarely in the studio together. It was always remote, you know. So
Fascinating. Well, speaking of writing, you mentioned screenplay stuff. I know you to be a big movie buff, and you're doing screenplay writing now. That's pretty awesome. Um, I wanted to ask just your opinion in general. If you had like superpowers to change one thing in the movie industry, or just highlight something you like what would that be?
well, I don't like, you know, I'm gonna get myself in trouble. That's what I fear
It's
about shows. I say too many things I shouldn't say. um, Look, I know that Marvel and all that DC have a huge fan base. If they didn't, Hollywood wouldn't make those movies. It's just not for me.
right.
You know, I'm not. I love the original Superman with Christopher Reeve.
Hey,
You know, that's a Richard Donner film, I believe.
yeah,
And I love that movie, and I'll watch it over and over. But the new ones and also CGI is kind of is not my thing. Now,
right.
Jurassic Park, when they really brought that out in '93, it blew everyone's minds. But they had built the T-Rex, they had built raptors, they had layered CGI on top of what took painstaking hours to build actual models, a
Yeah.
real T-Rex, 50 feet high. So that's why it looks so badass. And then when things got a little bit lazier and the conventional special effects were kind of pushed out, CGI took over, and I'm not down with it, man.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I'm I so like it's frustrating for me because I listen or I watch like, okay, what's coming out every week, and I wait and I wait and I wait, for something to come out that I want to see, and I'm not like that hard to please. I'm really, I'm not like some auteur,
Right.
but I want quality, and I want it to have some substantial meaning, just like music, and you know so yeah, I figure like I'll give it a shot. I've been at it for about 6 years now. I've amassed
Nice.
like 6 or 7 screenplays, and I'm
Oh
just
wow.
now at the point where I'm going to start trying to pitch it. Like I was just trying to like test the water. I was going to
Right.
like sit into competitions, seeing how I did, just to go, before I show this to anybody, let's see if I have anything to say, if they buy it. And surprisingly, the screen competitions were like, yeah, this is okay. So I did pretty well. I didn't win, but I did pretty well. So now I just finished a screenplay called Paradox Valley, and I'm going to start, like, I'm in pitch mode now. So we're going to see what happens.
Hex yes. If you out in space there or on terra firma or out in space, I don't know. Pick up this feed. Uh, and you have a producer or know somebody. Paradox Valley. It's the
Yeah.
biggest hit in town, or it's going to be.
I hope so.
Looking forward to that. Have you seen any movies I should know about? Like, Anything you've liked lately?
And I mean,
If the answer is no, that's totally fine.
there's not many that come out.
All
Like,
right, cool.
I thought Saltburn was pretty cool.
Saltburn. We'll check it out.
Yeah. So I forget her name, but like I know everyone's name that I grew up, the producers, the directors, actors, but now I don't know their names very well.
That's
But
okay.
she wrote and directed, I think it was called Promising Young Woman.
Okay.
Thought was cool. And then Saltburn came out like 8 months ago, 6 months ago, and it's pretty crazy. But it's a little crazier than like what I'm going for, but it was interesting.
Right.
I thought Tar was really good. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank because
No, that's great. Like I'm so out of like anything pop culture that's happened in the last 20 years. So you're totally putting me ahead of where I was. Saltburn and Tar.
I'll just say this. I'll say Whiplash is probably my favorite movie.
Okay.
Period.
Well, I've heard of that one.
Whiplash. You got to see that.
I'll check out Whiplash, man.
It's about a guy that's in college to be the best drummer.
Right.
He's in a very esteemed college, and it's this relationship with him and this very toxic, abusive, really teacher. But he's got to go through this guy to be the best. And who would ever think like a drummer, a jazz drummer at Schaefer College, whatever it's called in the movie, would be an interesting story, but it's probably one of the coolest, most exciting stories ever. It's badass.
Thank you. Well, almost burped into the mic, but I caught myself. Well, that's because I got so excited because it's everybody's favorite time for the features. We will start with a radiation round, called that because lightning is exceedingly rare in space. No wrong answers. Say whatever you want. We'll start with spring, summer, winter, or fall. Spring. Difficulty increases. Kubrick, Scorsese, Coppola, or Kurosawa?
Scorsese.
And what's the best bike brand?
The best bike brand?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, Specialized. That's what I ride. So
Specialized. Awesome. So from the top, Spring, Scorsese, and Skaze. I can never say his name right. And Specialized. Thank you so much. And we will now go into hypothetical spectacle. This is where we sort of like distill your essence into something else and get like Barbara Walters weird with it. Okay. And I got like really weird with this one, so if it doesn't work, that's totally on me. But okay. if you were a motocross bike, what would you run on? How would you brake? Like, what would stop you? And how would you be repaired?
I would run on optimism.
Optimism, love it.
I would brake too late.
Brake.
I do that in life. What was that one?
and how would you be? What rejuvenates you? Like, how would you be repaired?
Oh, I would repair every day because that's what I do.
Just repair, just like you naturally sort of wake up like at full HP.
I'm repairing all the time. I'm in a constant state of light repair, molting, changing, constantly evolving, so it's repairing like everything from childhood trauma to something that might have happened last week, but always like pushing forward, because you got to keep getting up and pushing forward. So I'm in a constant state of repair, I would say.
I love it. Okay, so fueled by optimism, breaks too late, and in a constant state of self-repair. Dig it. My final question was going to be what's next, but we have, ladies and gentlemen, confirmed from space to your earlobes, or not the lobe, that'd be weird, the cochlea therein. New music in the Iris vein, although not called that, is coming. Reagan, we are on a rogue flight path out here in space. I'm going to bring this flying couch back on into the station shortly. Thank you so much for your time today. This has been really cool for me. Any final thoughts with which you would want to leave our space audience?
Just say thank you for having me on. I've been kind of away for a while, so I feel pumped that we're got some of the best material I think I've ever
Oh,
written.
yeah, and you feel good about it.
Yeah, I feel really really good about
Oh,
it.
that's
Really,
such a good feeling.
That break helped. You gotta recharge the battery, and so yeah, I'm. We'll see what happens. Who knows? It may come out and people are like, I don't like it, but you never really know. But I feel a lot more passionate and like optimistic, about this than I did Six. So
Okay, well. Oh, that's what a great note on which to leave. Okay, so this is Brian for Space, for Reagan, for erstwhile Iris, and whatever the new project will be called, saying, call the spaceship to Davenport, prepare for divinity, and embrace with couch in space. Space couch out. I screwed it up. Oh, no, we're going to create it into a planet. Space couch. Space couch out. Okay, I let us talk over there. And Richard, dude, that was amazing. Thank you so much.